Should camping tents be designed for harsh outdoor conditions, or just for people to post Instagram stories? My name is Lucas Hayes. I'm 38 years old and have been the lead product designer at Alpine Forge Equipment for the past decade. Designing outdoor gear isn't just a job for me, it's part of my connection to nature. I've been married to my wife, Emily, for 12 years, and we live in Seattle with our 2 children. Over the years, the tent systems and trekking tools I've created have become trusted products for outdoor enthusiasts. Oh, and before I forget, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. On Seattle's misty mornings, while most people were sipping their coffee, I was packing my camping bag. As the city woke up, I was already conversing with nature. My 10 years at Alpine Forge were more than just a career. They were a foundation for my identity. Every piece we produced served as a shelter for climbers battling the wind and a companion for travelers facing icy terrain. That's who I am. Practical, sturdy, unpretentious. But a new wind had started to blow through the company, and it was a cold one. When Naomi Everett joined as our new CEO, I was just as excited as everyone else. She came across as young, visionary, and charismatic. But when she said she wanted to open the company to urban adventurers, something inside me tensed. Elegance, Instagram aesthetics, minimalist lines. Those things didn't work in the wild. And then there was Vincent Royce, the very voice of this new era. Grand speeches, abstract concepts, and phrases about how our products should reflect a lifestyle. As he spoke, I found myself tightening the buckle on my backpack. Our first clash happened when Vincent labeled me as a traditionalist during a presentation. At the time, I was working on the Summit Pro series, a tent designed to maximize durability while minimizing setup time in extreme weather conditions. After reviewing my project, all he said was, "This feels too mountain man." I thought to myself, well, I am a mountain man, but I just nodded. My friends at the company, Ethan and Riley, had my back. "Lucas, they don't understand you," Ethan told me. Maybe they didn't, but my designs addressed real needs, not aesthetics, but survival. During a one-on-one meeting with Naomi, I told her, visual simplicity should never override functionality. She simply smiled and responded, "Lucas, the user lives on Instagram now." And in that moment, I understood. I no longer belonged in this filtered photo world. The final blow came during an internal meeting. My project, Summit Pro, was outright canceled by Vincent. His reasoning? Its values don't align with our brand identity. In that moment, it felt like everything I had worked for was erased with a single stroke. Something deep inside me hurt, but I didn't let it show. If this was a battle, it was only just beginning. While Naomi and Vincent sought to reshape the company, I stood there as the shadow of the past. But the thing about shadows, one day they shift the direction of the light. Have you ever lost something you believed in and stayed silent? Does silence always mean surrender? We'll see. And if you've watched this far, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Sometimes people don't realize the true value of something until it's taken from them. After Summit Pro was canceled, everything unraveled quickly. First, my emails went unanswered. Then, I was gradually excluded from meetings. The weekly product development sessions with senior executives were now happening with smaller teams. In other words, without me. One day, Ethan stopped by my office and simply nodded. "You're being pushed out, you know that, right?" he said. I knew, but I didn't let it show. When you're alone in the mountains, you don't cry, you tighten your steps. A new designer named Olivia had joined the team. Vincent showcased her every chance he got. She didn't question the attention, she just quietly worked on new projects. One morning at the office, I noticed something. Olivia's new tent design was nearly identical to a concept I had abandoned 2 years ago, except now it had softer colors and sleeker zippers. Technically weak, but visually appealing. When Vincent introduced it as the future of the brand, I caught Ethan's gaze. I saw both anger and pain in his eyes. The pressure from management became blatant. After a meeting, Claire, the HR director, was waiting for me in her office. She laid out some files, her voice gentle but her words cutting. "Lucas, it seems you're struggling to adapt to this transition. We don't want to push you." The only thought in my head was that years of effort had been dismissed with just a few lines in a report. But the inevitable end came the next day. Vincent and Claire formally informed me of my termination. Vincent wore a sticky smile. "I hope you find a better place in the wilderness," he said. He shook my hand but never met my eyes. To him, I was just a burden from the past. My hands didn't tremble as I packed up my desk, because inside me, a new spark had ignited. I took all my drafts, sketchbooks, even my rejected projects. As I walked out, no one looked back. Maybe it was meant to end this way. The next morning, Ethan messaged me. "Lucas, Pinnacle Gear is forming a new team. The CEO, my old friend Alexander, needs to meet you." At first, I hesitated. Starting over wasn't easy. But then, I opened my sketchbook, and in those pages, I saw proof that I was still here. Meeting Alexander Crane made me feel truly understood for the first time in years. He listened, didn't question, didn't direct, just made space for my vision. And in that moment, I decided, this time, I wouldn't just design, I would fight. That evening, I sketched the first lines of my new series, Summit Edge. With every stroke of my pencil, the defeated man inside me faded away. Sometimes, losing is just about leaving behind the ones who held you back. But what about you? Have you ever thanked the people who forced you out? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below. The first prototype of the Summit Edge series was in my hands. On a cold morning, Alexander and the engineering team headed to the testing site. 40-knot winds, freezing rain, and mud. But the tent didn't collapse. The heating system didn't freeze. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't just trust a product. I felt proud of it. Alexander looked at me. "Lucas, this is another level," he said. I smiled, because this was only the beginning. But that night, everything changed. A message came through. "Riley. Lucas, be careful. Alpine Forge is copying Summit Edge. They're launching it under Olivia's name." I froze. My face drained of color. I immediately checked my files, the internal drafts, schematics, connection details. Some things couldn't have been copied, but I hadn't foreseen how deep Vincent's plan ran when I left the company. The next morning, we were in Pinnacle Gear's conference room. Our entire design, production, and legal team pulled together an emergency strategy. We would push the launch date forward. Alexander looked at me. "Are you sure, Lucas? This means war." I met his eyes and answered, "I've already been at war." For 2 weeks, we worked through the nights. Coffee, sketches, test phases, impatient engineers. But in everyone's eyes, one thing was clear: determination. This wasn't just a product launch. It was about reclaiming stolen effort, suppressed creativity, and a vision that someone had tried to silence. Meanwhile, Alpine Forge had started sneaking its Olivia-branded version into the market. But then, something unexpected happened. Users flooded in with complaints. Zippers broke, connections failed, because they had prioritized aesthetics and buried functionality. Olivia stayed out of the press. Naomi and Vincent went silent. They knew the storm was coming. And then the day arrived. The Summit Edge launch was streamed live on outdoor sports platforms. Footage of the prototype enduring brutal conditions, engineering details, and the story of Lucas Hayes' rebirth. Viewer reactions exploded. "This is the durability we've been waiting for. This changes everything. Alpine Forge is nothing but a shadow now." The first reaction from Vincent's camp came the next day. Their legal department sent a warning to Pinnacle Gear, claiming intellectual property infringement. But our documentation, sketch timestamps, and design traces were airtight. We didn't push forward. They were too late. In the first week of its release, the Summit Edge series exceeded all sales projections. Among mountaineers, professional campers, and nature documentarians, the product became almost legendary. Every shared post mentioned my name. Every technical review cited my notes. But deep down, I was still living with echoes of the past. Because this didn't feel like a success. It felt like revenge. Earned, yet heavy. Alpine Forge, on the other hand, was in complete collapse. Olivia's projects were pulled from the market. Customer loss hit investors hard. Naomi's leadership as CEO came under scrutiny. Then, a leak surfaced in the press. Vincent Royce had requested to step down. Olivia left the company without even making a statement. Riley sent me confidential documents proving that Vincent had deliberately erased old design records. Lawsuits were filed. But I had no desire to take legal action, because the biggest court had already convened in the public eye. As we began planning the second generation of Summit Edge, a package arrived from Riley. On the cover was familiar handwriting. Some ideas just wait for their time. Inside were my old sketches, the ones Alpine Forge had rejected, the rough but passionate designs I had drawn years ago. I held the notebook in my hands. Each page held a different version of myself. Less experienced, but more imaginative, more believing. I smiled, because in that moment I realized something. Ideas can be stolen, but vision can never be copied. No one at Pinnacle Gear called me old-fashioned anymore. Now the phrase was ahead of its time. But I thrived not on praise, but on silence. Alone in my tent one night, staring at the stars, I asked myself, what is the summit? Success? Being proven right? Or standing firm for what's true? Maybe all of them. Maybe none. I sat at my design table and wrote a note in the corner of Riley's notebook. True innovation doesn't come from fashion. It comes from necessity. The greatest lesson I learned was this. Being alone can be hard, but standing alone on the right path is 1,000 times better than getting lost in the wrong crowd. And what about you? One day when you reach your own summit, will you remember who was there with you or how you got there? That's my story, friends. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.